I've got mine on the ceiling in my Jeep next to the round tube.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, everybody got all their stuff ready?
Do you want to build a snowman?
Do I want to build a snowman?
And,
No.
And
It's
action.
not. It's not that kind of cold. It's not at all that kind of cold. All right. Well, welcome into the next episode of Gather Round Table Talks of the podcast. So glad you're able to join us today. We have. I don't know how to explain this guy to you. I mean, other than we have a lot in common. We have been through some stuff together. We've been through. There was a point where we were roommates back in college, before college. We go way back.
We've been through the trenches together.
We've been through the trenches together, yeah. We dug some of the trenches together, and we were hiding from Mama. But
You threw me in some of the trenches.
well, first of all, joining us, we have my wonderful sister-in-law, Lacey, with us, all the way from Florida. We have Anna, my lovely wife, with us as well, to keep us in between the lines and keep us on the road, hopefully. That's you guys' job, by the way. But our guest today is this stink bug over here to my right.
I moved up in the world.
You have. I've called you worse. But this is my little brother. This is Ben Maxwell. Say hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Oh, me. So we go way back. I would say probably to the beginning of your life. That's pretty much where we started.
I've heard enough about those few years before I got here.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
feel like I've known you your whole life.
Wild and free, and then you came along. Yeah. Yes, yeah, we have been partners in crime for quite a long time now, and it's been amazing to watch you grow up from what Admiral Alan Shepard called a toe-headed little boy, to the man that you are with a family and
Toe-headed man.
a toe-headed man, yeah. But more specifically, with a wonderful wife that keeps you straight and narrow, and now a little girl that has you absolutely messed up, and it is so fun to watch.
Gabby's dad. That's what
Gabby's
I'm
dad
known
is
for.
the only title that matters in your life right now.
That's funny because when I started bringing Lacey around, I was known as Lacey's boyfriend,
Mhm.
Lacey's husband, whatever, and now Lacey's starting to feel
Yeah.
a little bit of what I've been through. Because now
Y'all are-
you're Gabby's mom, you're Gabby's parents.
Y'all are just the entourage that follows Gabby around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't dare show up without either one of them.
No.
Lulu's over on the couch and she is agreeing very much so. She's
I
holding
come-
a grand doggy.
I'd come home from college and be welcomed by Dad. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
But then now I bring Lacey around, get hugged.
Where's the baby?
I don't know, around here I still get, when they hear Maxwell, oh, you're Maxwell. Are you related to this one or this one? I don't know.
I don't know, and I've been one over around. It's too much to keep up with. I'm just going to assume probably. I mean, somewhere down the line. So, but thank you for agreeing to be on our podcast here. I know you're one of our, as it was alluded to previously, 5 listeners that we have. You're one of them. But thank you for being here and joining in on this. I know we've, in our long storied past career, we've talked a ton about spiritual matters and have asked advice from each other and shared notes on things, and even down to the point, do I sound dumb on this microphone when when I'm in front of everybody? Yeah, you sound stupid, thanks. But being able to now share notes as being spiritual leaders of our families is kind of wild, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Who thought that would have
Well,
panned
and just
out?
to hear Jonathan Maxwell on a podcast is...
Yeah.
Well, who would have... I don't know who had that on their bingo card. Jonathan would be the one to start the podcast, but...
I just have the toys for it. That's all.
And not just hearing from you, we've listened to I think we're fully caught up right now. And it works out perfect because you've timed it where we listen on the way to church.
Yeah.
And from the moment we leave the driveway to the moment we pull into church, it's perfect. But
Yeah, down in Florida, they have quite a lengthy commute to get from their house to the congregation that they meet with. Was it 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes?
it depends on traffic, but what time of year it is.
Yeah.
How many tourists are there. But me getting to hear from my nieces especially,
Yeah.
you know, being the uncle, it's always joking and playing around, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
But to hear have you sit them down and talk about serious matters, and to hear their, you know, beyond joking and laughing, their serious thoughts and processes of how they're processing spiritual matters has been just beautiful for me to hear. You know, Lorelai say more than 4 words.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
I
She
feel
definitely
like
came out of her comfort
I
zone.
finally heard Lorelai's
But
voice.
Anna, you're definitely doing a good job.
Oh, yeah.
And,
In spite of it all, you're doing great.
Yeah, she's doing the majority of the work. I'm just got the video camera.
So Hannah, you're doing a great job with Jonathan tied behind you.
Yeah. Imagine if she wasn't so limited by me, you know? But yeah, watching Lorelai, you know, as limited as she was and what she would talk about more than 4 words is not too far off. But
All of them.
But then the drop off to Jude, you know, who's nothing but comic relief.
Which, by the
but he's
way-
6 years old. But
When his answer, you know, what do you pray for? And it was Scooby Doo and nachos. Lacey and I just instantly looked at each other because I've heard her pray for the exact same
yeah,
thing.
I mean,
I love spaghetti nachos.
Yeah, you got to be thankful. That's all.
Now, the downside, the downside of this is, I think you sent us this questions maybe a little over a month ago.
Mhm.
You gave me way too much time to think about it.
Oh, good.
And I've been adding
I
notes
see-
to notes.
I
to
see
notes.
different color inks and different thoughts here.
I'm going to try and decipher everything I've tried to think of over the last few weeks. 'Cause
Well, what we should do is since you liked where I talk to my daughters, we should talk to your daughter about, and all of her answers will probably be coffee and fries.
or do re mi.
She'll start singing. It's a
Or
adorable
hot
thing
dog,
she
hot
does.
dog, hot diggity dog.
Pray.
What was the thing y'all taught me last night? Chicken banana.
Chicken banana, that's
Yeah.
a big one right now.
Yeah, little girl and chicken banana.
Or as
That's
Gabby says, chicken nana.
chicken nana. Yeah, chicken nana. All right. Well, Ben, this isn't the first time I've interrogated you. Probably won't be the last either, but at least this one's on camera, so I can't get away with any of it. All right. First question. What does prayer mean to you personally, and what role has prayer played in your life?
So a lot of my answers probably will blend together from one to the other. So if I start repeating myself, stop me. But you brought up, I think it was the Libby episode where you get distracted and like a song comes into your mind or whatever. And for me, there's certain songs that like they have lines that will convict me in ways that will like pull me back. Kind of the opposite of what you're talking about, where it's like, oh, I need to pray or whatever. And I try to keep those songs. And whenever you find those songs, you know, with those very, very meaningful lines, I really try to keep them forefront of mind as much as possible, because it's the next best thing to praying itself is just having those good, positive words. Most of the time, hopefully based on scripture. You know, it's just there's certain way. You know, it's like you can say something over and over again, but if I change one word, it might mean something more to you, and it just connects differently. And so I think that's what songs do. And one in particular, or two really in particular, that I always kind of come back to and keeps me kind of focused on prayer, or at least the meaning and power of prayer. You know, what a friend we have in Jesus. There's a line in that. It's like, oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. And I guess it's the way it's phrased, and I think there might be something to the melody of it. Sticks with me, and it's like, why am I needlessly putting this on myself when I can be turned to God? You know, and you can unpack that to a very deep place of nothing else matters. You know, and all of the things that have. And we're going to talk about it, I know more, but, you know, we pray for, like, this is happening in my life. Can you fix this, God? Can you take this from me, God? Can you add this? But when you really dig down deep, it's like none of it even matters. Mm-hmm. The pain I'm going through, the great things that are happening, you know, I'm thankful for that, and I need help through this. But at the same time, all of this is temporary. All of it doesn't matter because it's all about, you know, like Lacey said, you know, it's you and your Creator.
Yeah.
We have at least kind of an earthly example with having an earthly father to kind of understand that relationship and get us a glimpse into that kind of relationship. And then when you try to seek for that relationship with God and understanding that who He really is, it's so much more. And like I said, there's just certain lines that just kind of pull me back to that. And you know, it's like, I guess just kind of in a way opposite of what you were saying. There's things that will distract you, but I think there's a lot of things in that same vein can pull you back into it.
Well, and a lot of times, maybe not in every case, but in the case of most of these songwriters, when they put these lyrics to these hymns that we enjoy and cherish, a lot of them bring back so many memories.
The other one, real quick, the other one,
Yeah.
Sweet Hour of Prayer is another one that gets me.
Yeah.
And again, it's not just singing it in church. Singing in church brings it home, and especially when you have those voices, when we've grown up singing these songs, and you know, a lot of those people that we've listened to and that have gone on, it's like those voices are still there echoing, and that just I think that maybe that adds, along with the words and the melody, that adds to it too. But Sweet Hour of Prayer, a couple lines in that one: in seasons of distress and grief, my soul has often found relief, and oft escaped the tempter's snare. And
By thy return, sweet hour.
yeah,
You gotta finish it. You can't leave me hanging on that one.
There's lines like that just hit you, or you know, for me. I mean, like I said, there's other songs that will hit you different, whatever. But for me, that one just connects, and you know, and you know, with such a hasten to the play.
Yeah.
Can you cut?
No, I only edit out the good parts. I leave the bad parts there. You think are bad anyway.
This isn't the part that I thought was going to.
Yeah.
This was.
Well, see, and that's how
I was starting off live.
Well, no, look, that's just a testament to how powerful those songs are, and that's the reason why they probably come forefront to your mind. And and what you're alluding to is in previous episodes, it's come up maybe 2 or 3 times before, where you'll be praying about something and it'll trigger a memory, and all of a sudden that song gets stuck in your head. Because I am also, to a degree, a little ADHD and squirrel, you know, chase squirrel there like that. But when I squirrel like that, it goes to a song, and we've talked about that before. And I think that's just a testament to how powerful that is, because it elicits that emotion in you right now, and it triggers those memories in different people.
And again, we'll probably get to this in a second, but you know, there's those times where, for whatever reason, like to pray earnestly and genuinely and reverently, you really kind of have to, or not. Sometimes you kind of have to work your way into that.
Yeah,
that mindset.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, if I can't get to that point, if I can at least, I can sing I can have these songs playing in my mind quicker probably than I can get into that place to pray sometimes. So
and that's a blessing.
and it's if I'm not praying, if I can at least have this on my heart or in my mind and those words really resonating, you know, it's like with such a hasten to the place where God my Savior shows His face, and you know, gladly take my station there. And then since He bids me seek His face, believe His word, and trust His grace, I'll cast on Him every care. And you know, a lot of times those words say much more and much better than what I can.
Yeah, it's more eloquent than what I feel like I can cobble
Exactly.
together with my vocabulary. You know,
Gift of eloquence is not genetic.
not really.
But and one more point on this one
Yeah.
too is another song that we didn't grow up singing, but I discovered that I've grown appreciative of. It comes from the great philosopher Conway Twitty.
Was not expecting that at all.
No, there was a
Hello,
point.
darling.
and
Don't go there. If you go there, I'm gonna hit the stop button.
There was 2020. Lacey and I, we wanted to just travel, and like every month. I mean, we were traveling once a month. We were going to just do a weekend trip, go somewhere new. And
Yeah, I remember that.
And we're doing all these plane flights and stuff. And I noticed, and I've noticed this in the past when I'm traveling in other situations or whatever. It's like when we're taking off and when we're about to land, we're on approach. It's like I am praying hard, and it was kind of a wake up call. And from there, I kind of went down my life and all the close calls and all the reasons and justification of why I should not be here.
I think they call that your life flashing before your very eyes.
Well, no, when I start going down that path, and I realize like it can't be just my prayers that are being answered. There's other people, and I start to think about all those people that prayed for me in other situations and very dark situations. And one that's been consistent the whole time is our mother, Mom's prayers. And it's like, I'm only here, I think, because of Mom's prayers.
Some days.
And, and I thought I was onto something new, and turns out Conway Twitty beat me to it. He's got a song about Mama's prayers, but but
I'm glad we landed on that song, since that catalog could have gone in a different direction.
For me, it's, you realize, for me it's our mother, but I think for all of us, we can, if we search and we look at those people that are likely, that are, like Lacey brought up, a couple of people that were fervently praying for her and everything. And I think we need to appreciate not just prayer itself, but those who are very diligent in prayer and very genuine and earnest in their faith. Mm-hmm. And you want them praying for you. And I think we need to appreciate those people. And for me, it's, I've had a lot of people pray for me in different phases. Yeah. But there's been one current through the whole time, and that's been Mom. And, and I'm fully aware that she's 90% of the reason I'm still here. Especially since she could have pulled the trigger at any moment.
Well, she tried. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, hey, all of us, especially me, you, our sister, yeah. And that's one thing she always stressed, to remind us that she was praying for us. And all of us, eventually got to a point where we're like, yeah, Mom, I know. But it means more to you now than it ever has, I'm sure. But
yeah, you get to a point where you fully can appreciate, you can look back and you can appreciate it, like, because there's kind of two ways of looking at it. You look at, especially situations where, when you've had that situation where a doctor tells you if you would have waited another hour or another 2 hours, you wouldn't be here. When you have that situation in your life or something similar to it, you start to realize it's like, my prayer life has not been great. It can always be better. And then you look, and there must be other people really praying hard for you. Yeah. This is just another thought too, is that there's times where my mind will change, and just all of a sudden it's like I'm positive, like more positive. I'm more optimistic or whatever. And there's every once in a while I'd like to think this is that somebody's probably praying for me right now, and that's.
If it's around the time that I'm dropping Gabby off at school, around nap time, it's me and your daughter. That we always pray for Daddy.
I don't know. I mean, I can't back that. I can't back that up. But I like
the time next time.
Yeah, I like to think that, and I think it's at least a good grounding thought process to kind of ground us back, as to realize that I think somebody's probably praying for me right now, and if you feel that, and I think you turn around and you pray for whoever comes to mind, or whoever you feel like is praying for you. I'm gonna pray for them. And I'm gonna stop it there because like I said, you gave me way too much time.
No, that was wonderful. That's when the question was, what does prayer mean to you personally? That was pretty personal. that was all of it. But I know you'll pick up pieces of that and move on with it on the next questions that kind of get more detailed with it. But we're on to number 2 right now. How do you incorporate prayer into your daily routine, Mr. Tax Man, or Mr. Insurance
Tax Man?
I don't know why taxes come up.
That was mean.
You can tell what's on my mind. Yeah, Mr. Insurance Adjuster. Is it adjuster? What's that official title?
Public adjuster.
Public adjuster. Yeah. If you that could be confused for a chiropractor. I adjust people.
I do tell people, hey, I'm licensed to adjust in public. So it's okay. I have a license for this.
Yeah, that's good. The state said it was okay.
And I'm licensed in 14 states, I think, now. So catch me publicly adjusting everywhere.
Almost nationwide. Can you believe it? I can.
So one of the things I left out of the first answer, but it runs through this answer and the rest of it, is another song. What a friend we have in Jesus. I mean, treating Jesus as a friend. We sing about that a lot. I'll be a friend to Jesus, and here comes the hurricane.
Here comes it. That's the best.
Oh, yeah. Treating God, approaching God as a friend. A creator, yes, absolutely. There's reverence there, but not just as a disciplinarian, but as somebody who knows. We talk about like our mother. She's been there through our whole life. She knows. She's seen probably of anybody else on earth. Probably has witnessed a lot of the stuff that we go through. God knows even more than that. Mm-hmm. He knows more than I do in those situations, and so, and He's still there. So treating God as a friend and approaching Him as a friend. And Lacey brought up a gentleman from church, Billy Tolson. That's how he prays. Mm-hmm. He prays as though he is talking to an old friend who's been there through a long life, and it's a beautiful thing to witness if we have the presence of mind to witness it. It's in you probably find it in every single congregation.
Yeah,
there's those guys that get up and you get to witness, a relationship, and that sets an example for the rest of us. But part of having that friendship, building that friendship with the Creator, and again, I don't want this. When I say friendship, I don't want that to devalue the reverence. There's a lot of reverence because it's not just a friend. He's a creator. There's a lot of reverence that needs to remain there. It's not like
you're not using it.
You and Travis or me and Shane.
Yeah,
no. We have our best friends on earth, but this is different. There's an ongoing.
Well, in as much as being a confidant as being someone you go to advice, the ultimate advice in this case, and then. I know you don't mean it flippantly. I don't mean I know you don't mean it like an acquaintance, a general acquaintance or anything like that.
So how do you incorporate in daily life? It's an ongoing. I treat it as it's an ongoing, constant conversation. I know we have the model prayer, and how we pray in public, and it's dear Lord, this, and in your name, in Jesus' name, Amen. For me, it's. Every moment I'm not talking to someone else in my mind, and this is at least my goal, and this is what I try to aspire to. I'm in conversation with God, and a lot of times I'm in conversation with God during interactions. You have those people that just push you and test you, and so leading, and when you see them coming,
the prayer stops.
But that comes from like intentionally, an intentional willingness to want a relationship with God, but also to desire to be better, to be not what I feel like I want to be. It's not about the profound wisdom that I can say, and it's not about, hey, I can look really good by giving this advice. Take me out of the equation, God. Like, use me. I'm an empty vessel. Like, do your work through me. And less of me, none of me, and all of you. And so there's an intentionality to it that you have to. There's a lot of work to get to that point of when I'm in the car. The car is the best place. This is where I really started doing it. Especially when I worked at UWA and I was traveling everywhere, driving everywhere. I spent a lot of time in the car, and I had nothing else to do but talk to God. And then that started a routine, but then it's like, well, it doesn't need to stop when I park. Mm-hmm. When I'm out and when I'm in those difficult situations, if I'm going into a situation I'm very anxious and nervous about, I'm talking to God, and that is the best thing that can calm your spirit, that can set you in the right, focus and path. And like I said, it's an ongoing. Let's tell you, I wrote down here 1 Thessalonians 5:17.
Okay. 1 Thessalonians 5:17.
And that one, Lacey read a verse that was very similar to this, but in 1 Thessalonians 5:17 it says, or starting 16, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God for you in Christ Jesus. And that goes back to the advice Lacey had given as far as starting from a place of gratitude. But pray without ceasing. It's a nonstop conversation. When I say amen, and I think that's something we need to kind of reflect on. Why do we say amen? What does amen mean? I know Jesus set that example.
According to our grandfather, means the end.
The end. Or there's a gentleman that sits in front of us at church, Mr. Chuck, and he's my buddy. And before he leaves, he always goes almonds. Almost to you, brother.
Almost.
So, but it's even though I got to pause the conversation now because I got to talk to you. I'm coming back to that conversation, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, and that helps to build, in a way, a conscientious or conscience type of situation. Our pawpaw was very influential to the point that I can't escape him.
Agreed.
I know you get it too. One that comes to mind in particular. He was always giving us a hard time. He was always there teasing us. You know, like, boy, if I ever tried to put a towel over a fish to unhook it, well, you grab that fish. Like, that's the kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
there was one situation where I'm trying to.
Constructive heckling, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've got limbs hanging over my shed, and I want to clear them off before they fall. And so I'm up on the ladder, and I've cut everything I can reach. Well, there's a few just out of reach, and I've got the chainsaw over my head, and all I can hear is pawpaw in my mind. You think that's a good idea?
We won't commit to that one.
You think you? Hey, let's. I can just. It's not. I don't even know what words. I can just hear the tone.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's those people in your life that just stick with you, and we're fortunate enough to have a lot of positive examples on that. And I think.
Oh, is your Jiminy Cricket?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're gonna go with the chainsaw?
I'm trying to think of the. Never mind. I don't even go there. But
Probably for the best.
I think, and maybe, and again, this is me kind of stretching. Maybe God's talking through that tone. He's using Pawpaw's tone to get my attention.
Thanks to popular culture, some people have Morgan Freeman as well. You've got Raven.
I've got multiple ones. Multiple tones depending on the situation. But I think you can have, when you have that ongoing conversation with someone very close, it begins to start to meld or form, refine a conscience in you that, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, or hey, this is what you need to do, kind of thing. So,
well, everybody is ingrained with some kind of moral compass with what you're talking about with the conscience and everything, but it always reinforces that and makes you more accountable to God, but to yourself as well. But yeah,
and it helps in a lot of things that have been repeated already on this podcast. I know Lizzie brought it up. I think Tom brought it up as far as pray. If somebody crosses your mind, pray for them in that moment. If someone asks for prayer, pray for them right then and there, and don't be so worried about what words are you going to meet them with. Pray for them. There was one situation, and it was early on. I had done a career change, a drastic career change. I'm in this field I'm never anticipated being in. I'm learning everything on the fly, trying to figure it out. I'm on the phone with this client, this little old lady who is going through a very devastating situation, and she's crying, and she's, and I'm sitting here trying to be professional and deal with it. And I sat outside with her on the phone, and I got to the point I didn't know what else to say. I had no other words for her, and I just asked her, "Can we just pray?" And she said, "I would love that." And that meant more than anything I can say, but just to have a prayer. And a lot of times, I can try to sit here and come up with the right words all day, but at the end of the day, the best thing we can do is let's just go to God. It's not about me trying to give you advice. Let's just take it to God and together, and let's go there. But also having the intentionality of in that moment, don't procrastinate, don't put it off. Attack it.
Right. Don't procrastinate, don't put it off. I like that, especially because that's what gets me in trouble a whole lot. So, because if I have enough time to forget about it, I will.
Yeah.
All right, Uncle Ben. Number 3. What are some challenges you face in maintaining a consistent prayer life? And you've hit on a lot of it so far, but let's unpack a little bit more.
Yeah, and stop me if you need to, because
I will.
This one is where I get a lot of my thoughts. But one thing that Lacey and I've actually been talking about for a little while now. Well, first off, let me start here. Kind of going off the last answer is one thing that we can do, or one thing that I do really. If I don't pray right then and there, if someone asks for prayers, especially if you're talking about a church setting, someone says, "Hey, we need to pray for this person." There's so many more people in that room that are better at prayer and that are
As far as an eloquent speaker,
Yeah,
goes, they're
not
necessarily
just
better at
eloquently, but
prayer,
it's
but
like,
just-
well, you can get that feeling, though,
Yeah.
right? Like we get again, Billy Tolson, the older gentleman who is really good at it, has that friendship established. It's like, your turn.
Apple emergency.
It's like, why Billy Tolson's praying for her. It's covered. Like, there's nothing I can add to that. You know, I think we can get into that kind of situation, especially in a group setting of, you know, just because these people that I feel are better than me or and more advanced than I am, doesn't mean that I shouldn't.
No.
And that's I don't know if that's a prevalent thing or just a me thing, but I think that's something that we can probably in some way fall guilty of. You know, like, hey, they're covered. They're already being prayed for. And that goes on social media too. When people are asking for prayers, it's like, well, I'm seeing this 2 days later.
Yeah.
They've already been prayed for. So you know, we need to, regardless of time and space, we need to be, because all we can do is what, you know,
Right.
or worry about ourselves and what we're doing.
So sometimes, I guess, to kind of get me on the page with you, sometimes the feeling of inadequacy and maybe how you put things together and how maybe organized in your thoughts you are can make you feel to the point where what's the point? And you can use it as an excuse to, well, so, you know, since someone far more eloquent than me has got this covered, I don't even have to put my 2 cents in. And is that the case?
Well, I think it might be more than we realize, because I mean, there's actually a name for it. Well, kind of not regarding prayer, but like, it's called the bystander effect, where we've seen it in some of these tragedies that are happening when somebody is being abused or hurt, everybody else stands back and just watches because they're expecting somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that can be the same for prayer. This person's asking this group of however number of people to pray for them. Well, this person, he's on it better than I am. He's got it.
They turn into the deer in the headlights, just strictly observation
Right.
mode. And that's why you see so many, when you have a traffic accident, that's why you have so much congestion around it, because everyone's looking, everyone's turtlenecking, looking around.
But the problem with go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to mention, I saw that personally in a situation where there were gunshots fired. Majority of the crowd froze, started looking, and it was almost a zombie type effect, and just kind of and lumbering towards the sound. And my first reaction was to grab the people around and get down and move.
Yeah.
And I'm yelling at the ones that heard the gunshots and started doing the weird zombie towards the noise thing. Get down, get away, come on, let's go. We don't need to be here. Is that what you're talking about with the bystander?
And actually, I'm going to come back to kind of what you're describing here in a minute. But why is that a problem, right? Like, if we're talking not just the situation you're talking about, but the situation with like prayer. Hey, these people, they're better at it than I am. They got it. They're going to pray for them. Why is that a problem? Why is that a problem for me? Yeah. It's a problem for me because my default, whenever I'm like feeling overwhelmed or confused about anything spiritually, my default is the greatest command and the second command. What Jesus tells the scribe is, hey, the great and first command is to love your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength, depending on your translation. And the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. And we've spent a lot of time talking about this because this is just kind of where I come back to and just trying to understand that. And one thing that I had found, growing up, you can find when you grow up in the church, and I've never really struggled with, is there a God or is there not a God? I mean, there's been a little bit of doubt creep in, but never into a point where I've seriously questioned, is there a God? I've always understood there is a God. I've always, as far as I know, can remember, I believe there is a God. So I kind of fallen into a complacency of, I've got the first one covered. I got to work on the second one. How do I love my neighbor? But then as I've studied and as as you dig into scripture, I think it's John that says, if you say you love God but hate your neighbor, you're a liar. And so I know Jesus says that, he says this is number one and this is number two. That you can't have one without the other. And so the bystander effect, as far as someone asking for prayer.
Did you hear
Daddy break. So if someone's asking for prayer, they're covered. But does that mean loving them, though?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, if I love them, if I'm loving my neighbor as myself, and if I'm love God with all my heart,
I want someone to go the extra mile and pray for me anyway.
Well, but it's like, that's good that, Jonathan's praying for him. but what do I need to be doing? I need to be praying for because I need to be loving them, agape love, an unconditional, endless love for this person, regardless of whoever else is praying for them or not. I need to practice that love by praying for them, and you know, and I think I've found again. I need to just talk for myself, but praying for those who persecute you, especially, has been a big one.
It's hard.
Yeah, and you know, if I can't pray for those who I don't see as an enemy or that are persecuting me, that's a hard one in of itself. But all those other ones, all those other people who are asking for prayer, if I can't pray for them, how am I going to pray for the one persecuting me? And that's just my thoughts. That's not a
Well, that's just
Scripture.
that's a common dynamic in our humanity that is it's one of our flaws that we have.
right.
It's extremely easy. I mean, it's extremely easy to do unto others when they're already doing good unto you. You know,
Right.
To kind of modify that, but yeah, I mean, when you're talking about someone who doesn't want good for you or for your family or whatever, and it's important for you to pray for that person as well. It's extremely difficult. Because you kind of have to leave behind the fact that, oh, this person's not really got my well-being, you know, anywhere in their thoughts, maybe even the opposite of that, but I got to pray for them anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so,
All of
because
them.
it takes more effort.
Especially those who, well, you know, we can. Again, I'm speaking for myself. I've fallen into that trap of classifying people, and when you know, in whatever situation, politically, economically, whatever, you can start to compartmentalize and put people in these boxes and those boxes and whatever, to the point that you start to overlook. Oh, that's just one of those people. That's just one of those people. And that's detrimental, because now I'm not loving everyone. I'm not loving all my neighbors. I'm just loving my neighbors in this group.
Right.
And so, you know, breaking that tendency, and even those people that you created a habit of writing off and neglecting, you know, trying to learn to pray for them too. And then one thing that, this was where I was going to start. Lacey and I have had this conversation quite a bit, as far as when it comes to prayer. This is one thing I'm trying to navigate right now. This is kind of where I'm at right now, is navigating confidence versus expectation. Because one thing that you'll hear throughout this podcast, a lot of answers are, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I fully support this. God doesn't give us everything we may want. He gives us what we need, and He may not answer prayers in the way that I think or I want. And I agree with that. I'm not saying anything against that. But I think, and for me, I can fall down that line of thinking to the point where it limits my perception of God, of confidence in God.
Yeah.
To the point where right now I go back to, you know, multiple times Jesus tells his disciples, you know, if you have faith of a mustard seed, and multiple times he uses this example of moving a mountain from one place to another, or moving a mountain to the ocean. If you ask, and Jesus is pretty direct there, in each occasion, it will happen. And so I think you can start really trying to set your expectations of what you think the answer is going to be, and being maybe a little pessimistic, and that I'm not going to get what I want. I'm going to ask for it, but I'm not going to get it. And I've tried to, and I've seen that in my own life, where I'm not praying with full confidence.
Yeah.
And I've got to check, and I got to go to God, like, I know you can do this. Will you? And can you? He can, absolutely. And just ask him outright, can you deliver this? And so it's like, one of our Wednesday night Bible studies, I was at, a lady just asked for prayers for a baby who was sick, and the best I could come up with, it's hard sometimes to be this blunt and direct with God. And it was like, heal it. We're mindful of this baby. God, will you just heal them? Yeah. And if you can just come with that kind of confidence, I think the expectation's still there. We still need to be reminded that I'm going to get an answer, and it may not be everything I want, but I still need to have that confidence that if just of a mustard seed,
right,
ask God to move this mountain.
Correct me if, you know, I've known you long enough to know what you mean by that, but someone listening might not. You don't mean in an arrogant, overconfident tone of
Exactly.
feel it. You mean in I have nothing else I've got to add to this, because the confidence that I have that you will heal the child, and That's kind
Absolutely, and because when I say confidence versus expectations, I'm talking about I'm approaching expectations in a way of I'm tampering expectations. You can approach it from a way where you need to tamper expectations.
Oh, yeah.
My expectations are too high.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, and thanks for
Yeah.
pulling me back on that
Yeah.
because
No, I know how
yeah.
your vocabulary works. I also know how a lot of listeners would probably interpret that as, well, that was very cocky and arrogant.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't mean it that way
Right.
at all. He's just saying that,
And it's more of an evaluation of faith.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've grown up and faith has always been there to a point that I'm just now starting to realize I never really evaluated faith. What does faith mean? What does that consist of? And faith is the substance of things hoped for, the conviction of things unseen. What does that really mean? And so it's really about have confidence in that faith. How am I building confidence? I believe there is a God, but how far does that belief stretch? And to the point that, hey, if I ask him to move this mountain, he will. He's capable.
How invested am I truly?
Yeah, he can do it. I absolutely believe he can do it.
Yeah.
And it's, but again, I can see also, thanks for pulling me back, because I can see where that can also be detrimental to some people where it's like, well, he didn't answer my prayer because my faith isn't strong.
Yeah.
And that's another thing to kind of have to navigate. You still want that confidence that he is capable, but it's not necessarily, our faith can always be stronger, absolutely.
Sure.
So I don't want that to be taken, the wrong way either. Because I think that can be very detrimental if you start down that path of, well, my faith's just not strong enough, or I'm just not good enough. That's very detrimental too.
Yes.
And you kind of mentioned this a while ago, this is something that's another place of where I'm at right now too, and it's going to come up a couple times probably, is preparing your mind. You talked about a situation with the bystander effect where you're grabbing people and putting them away, and I think becoming a father, I've been doing this even more so. I started doing it more as a husband, and now as a husband and father, started doing this more. I'm always preparing my mind, especially in a physical situation of, if somebody comes on our property, what am I going to do? What's step one? To the point that I have it planned out in my mind. If they come from this direction or they come from that direction, step by step, this is how I'm going to react to the point so I don't freeze in that moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to react in this way, and at church, if something happens this way or something happens that way, this is how I'm going to react. And you plan it out in your mind so that when it happens, you don't freeze, and you're constantly preparing yourself.
What's situational awareness? That was something ingrained in us by Dad, whether he meant to in a positive way or not. He absolutely, what are you doing? Where are you in? Why are you there? What are you doing?
Mindful,
be mindful.
conscientious.
What are you you can't just walk around, you got to know what you're doing.
That was the
But
first.
at the time, I was not very thankful.
Well, it started off. You think
now that I'm older and I am very thankful for that.
well, those lessons early on, you thought were just about not getting in front of him at the supermarket or something
And
because
it
you don't want to get in his way.
and it was, but that's
You start to learn, hey, I can apply this to home invasion or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But so going off that concept, one thing that we had just talked about in our Bible study, Paul's thorn in the flesh, and Paul's talking. He's praying to God, multiple times, and the way he's describing it, he's praying eagerly and just almost to a very almost begging God to remove this thorn in the flesh, which I believe is a physical element, is what he's alluding to, and he's begging for that thorn in the flesh, but then he starts to realize, or God says to him, I think that's how he puts it.
Exactly.
Yeah, God says to him, my grace is sufficient. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm praying, especially if there's I feel like there's been a thorn in my, and to me, it's not just
Sitting right here.
always in trouble, man. I can't stay out of it.
My burr in my saddle.
I know Paul is referring to a physical element, but I think for me, it's not. I have physical elements that I would love to remove, but I haven't been as eager as Paul. There's been other, you can think of all kinds of situations, whether it's work, school, financial, whatever. You have these just lingering things, this lingering cloud hanging over you that's just bogging you down. And, and I'm praying confidently and to God that he can move that mountain. You're capable of it. like, we remove this thorn from my side or from my flesh, and it's kind of twofold here. It's that I'm preparing myself simultaneously as I'm praying confidently, eagerly, fervently. I'm also preparing myself. What if he does?
Yeah.
What if he does this cloud that has hung over you for so long? You know, if that is suddenly gone in an instant, which I'm fully capable of, he could do. If that, what does my life look like? What is my mind?
What's the next step?
Because I think we're all kind of like, you have these peaks and valleys, and those valleys are where you really pray fervently and you're consistent in your prayer life. Then you get to the peak, and everything's good, and you're not praying as much, maybe ever. And so when I've learned to appreciate those thorns. When I'm in the valley, I want it removed so bad. God, remove this, help me. And then at the same time, I'm preparing myself because, like, hey, when he does, I'm going to be back on the peak. Now, what am I going to do? Wow. And so you're preparing yourself to appreciate, when that does happen, when you're back on the peak, to stay, you know, in a positive light, in a positive direction. Or at the same time, if he doesn't, I'm preparing myself mentally, or in a sense, I'm finding an appreciation for that thorn. The storm, look what it's doing. It's causing me to be fervently and mindfully, constantly focused on God, because only God can fix it at this point. You know, so I've become thankful for that thorn in a sense. Like,
that's the realization that was come to.
Right.
But, you know, that's the whole point of it, to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it's been brought up several times in previous episodes about how easy it is to pray to God when you're under the gun, when things are rough, when you're in that valley, when things are bad, when you're in the hospital. I think did we talk about that this episode, or was that your episode? Either way, when we were talking about praying in the hospital, super easy to remember to pray when you're in the hospital for, you know, good outcome and stuff. But when you're at that peak, when everything is good, and it's so easy to lose sight, sometimes that humbling is what you need to kind of get your spiritual situational awareness back in check.
And
thus the thorn in the flesh.
again, I'm going to abbreviate a lot of this. I think I already hit the big ones. You know, the bystander effect, the thorn in the flesh. Those are two big ones right now. Or the confidence versus expectation. You know, some other challenges like impatient in God's timing. That's another one. Tentative in, as to God's answer. You know, sometimes I'm scared of the answer. I don't want to ask. And then the last one I do want to hit on. This one is, you know, it's kind of similar to the bystander effect. You know, why bother because this person's praying, or why God's in control of all things. God, whatever God wants to happen, He's going to allow to happen. He's going to make happen. So why bother asking? That's another one that really pulls me down more than I probably give it credit for. Is that, you know, God is in control. Why do I even bother asking?
He already knows why do I bother.
He knows more than I do. He knows what will fix it better than I can even ask. So why do I bother? Because He tells us to.
Because we're to bring up.
Jesus even says, going back to the mountain and the mustard seed, it's like, if you ask, it will be done. If you have faith of the mustard seed, it will be done. And there's something there that I probably can never fully comprehend, is that why would He is in control. I have confidence He's in control. He's capable. Why does He want me to ask? And there's a lot to unpack there. I know I'm already rambling on, but you know, that's a trap that I've fallen into, and you can fall into.
If you think about our daughter, like you watch her fall, she spins her knee. You know what's bothering her, but you still want her to come to you and say, "I skinned my knee. I hurt my knee. This is what hurts right now."
Right.
And so if you just think about how much you love your daughter, and how much our Heavenly Father loves us so much more, and He wants us to come to Him. But also, I think a lot of it is like, yeah, He's in control, but I don't think there is the peace that surpasses all understanding. We're not going to get that on our own. We are not going to get that without prayer. Right. So, and even Jesus would go off by Himself and pray over and over again. And so,
like Jude.
And so,
very biblical.
Well, maybe not like Jude, but similar.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, so like Jesus set that example that Jesus needed to commune with His Heavenly Father. And so, you know, it's just one of those, yes, we are commanded to, but also, like, we need that.
Yeah. And sometimes that need that we have is from saying something out loud And you can have a million thoughts during the day, but until you focus and fixate on one and put that before God, it doesn't feel like you've really made any real progress, I guess, towards the goal of maybe a solution for what's bothering you. And sometimes saying it out loud. A lot of times when something weighs heavily on your mind, and I've noticed this with the youth group, a lot of times one of them will sit down with me and they'll say, "Well, I just got to tell you about this," and they'll tell me about it. And we may not even come to a solution. We may not even come to a point where, hey, yeah, we figured out what direction we needed to go on this, but they just feel better because they told somebody about it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot to be said in that too.
Yeah, so it's like there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot that can be said as far as why we should.
And that's not for God because God knows. That's for you.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the beautiful things about it is as much as we talk about prayer and we think about it as a relationship with God, we should take everything to God. It's more for us. It's kind of I would liken it kind of what Jesus says about the Sabbath. God, the Sabbath wasn't made. You weren't made for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for you. Prayer isn't for God's benefit; it's for your benefit. And again, that's my word. That's my take on it. Yeah. So but I think that's a big trap, and that's one I've fallen into. Is God's in control. Why bother?
Yeah.
And that can be very detrimental, and it can bog you down for a good bit if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's your self-worth sometimes can be so low. But then you got to also realize, well, you absolutely matter because God sent His Son to die for you. Yeah. So who else would do that, right?
Right.
All right. Can you share a specific example of a time when prayer made a noticeable difference in your life?
No.
And I think you know.
No, okay.
Negative.
Sorry, Barry.
Can't come up with anything. Sorry, I'm out of answers.
So I got two. I'm gonna make them quick. I'm gonna start speaking up.
Don't even act like you're gonna say something quick.
The first one's kind of light, and I hope this makes sense because it's a little bizarre.
Oh, good.
So it's not necessarily
We'll highlight this part
it's not necessarily an instance where at that moment prayer played a significant role. It was the absence of prayer later where it started to play. When I moved to Troy, you remember me in high school and going to college.
Yeah.
I don't know how I survived or lived through anything because I didn't read emails. I didn't pay attention. I showed up a day early than I was supposed to. I'm the only person on campus. I'm by myself. I'm moving everything, and there's this at the time. It's since been demolished and the ground salted, but there was a dorm room that was notorious. It was an all male dorm, alumni hall.
Slumni.
We called it Slumni.
Ooh.
And it's like just this massive prison-like structure, and they assigned me to that hall, and I moved into this very bleak place, and I was just pitching a fit, and I'm just upset. Only one in that building, only one on campus, and I all night just pitching a fit of why is this happening to me? Why am I stuck in this situation? Blah blah blah. And then I meet some guys the next day and made some friends. And one was an RA at a dorm, a nice, beautiful dorm. That was another thing. I look out the window and see this nice, beautiful new dorm where everybody's living luxury. And he was an RA or a resident assistant at that one. And he just made a call, got me moved over. I spent one night in Slumni. And then I spent the next 3 years in the nice, beautiful dorm across the road. And so I look back at that moment, and it was almost after I'd moved with everything, I stopped, and it dawned on me, like, I sat there and pitched a fit like a petulant child, and God still took care of me. I had the worst attitude, and so ever since then, and that it's very insignificant and stupid, but it's always stuck with me of like how petulant and faithless and ungrateful I can be. And God still took care of me, and it changed me in a way of, I didn't take the route of, I can just forget it. God's going to take care of me anyway.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like I learned a lot from that, in the way I mishandled that.
Yeah.
And then this one's going to be a little harder to describe or explain, but it was a very pivotal moment for me. It was when Grandpa passed, our other grandfather, and it was at a point it's towards the end of college. I was wrapping things up. I was going through a lot of different things, a lot of anxieties and a lot of different emotions in every aspect of life of trying to figure out what am I going to do, who am I, what am I. Why are we laughing?
I heard
Yeah,
the natives are restless in the background.
But it kind of, that's where it was like, I got to a point where probably, I don't know if it was the first time, it was probably one of the most major times, if not the first. I got to a point where I had nowhere else to turn but God, of trying to deal with all of these things that are happening, losing a grandfather, going through all of these different things happening all at once, just overwhelmed and you know, that's where, and I'm going to get in, well, I'll just get into this, the next question, because they're so closely entwined.
What's your favorite prayer in the Bible and why?
And Laura actually stole mine, or Jude did first. Genesis, and then Laura took the other one. But and it was at this point of my life where I grew up an appreciation for the Garden of Gethsemane, and I mean some of the Gospels kind of hint to what is said. To me, the Garden of Gethsemane isn't as much as what is said, but it's what's happening in the moment, and what Jesus is prostrate, and this whole posture, physical posture of prayer.
Yeah.
I started to gain appreciation because I was at that moment. I was physically prostrate. I mean, I found I was still at Troy at this time, and I had found this secluded, out in the woods place where I could sneak off to, and I did it multiple times. There was a point where it was every night I was running to this place, and just physically just falling, you know, and I would go. There's a song, you know. Well, it's actually one of my favorite ones. It's where, you know, when my love for Christ grows weak, and that's kind of where I at that point was at. It wasn't necessarily, you know, when my love for man grows weak. It was my love for Christ is growing weak, and there I walk amid the shades while the lingering twilight fades, and you know you see his suffering, friendless one. You see his face, see his anguish, and again, it's one of those most pivotal moments in my life. But it's like it's hard to describe. I think we all might have that moment where it's like, it wouldn't make sense to anybody else, but it was, yeah, I grew this appreciation for Christ in Gethsemane. He just had this moment with all of his disciples. He knows what's about to happen, and he is on his face, and he's pleading with God. You know, the Son of God is you know, Lord, let this cup pass from me. There's so much emotion there, and I think that's what it really is. Not necessarily the words; it's the emotion behind that scene.
Yeah.
And that's where I was at that moment. It was just, I'm not likening myself to Christ. Maybe absolutely.
No, yeah.
I felt that.
I don't think anyone would come to the conclusion on that.
But I felt that moment of
kind of like a helplessness kind of.
And again, I grew this appreciation for the physical posture of prayer. I think there's something to that.
The vulnerability in that position is.
Yeah. But to me, it was a genuine, real thing. It's not we've got to fold our hands and bow our head. It's a genuine posture, and it's very interesting when you experience something like that of what all this pain and suffering and toiling can do to you physically, to the point that it's just, I hope something's there that we can use.
Yeah. I mean, no, I get that. It's physically taxing when you talk about anxiety and depression, especially. I'm not saying that you were there on those, but when you have such an emotional gut punch like losing a relative, a loved one, and in that situation, how much he meant to us, how much he meant to you, especially because I remember discussing some of that, and it changes you physically, and you know, you just absolutely. I have been in grief so deep in certain situations where you almost feel like you're bruised, kind of. And you're not. I mean, you haven't suffered any kind of physical trauma or hit or anything like that, but you feel like you're kind of bruised, kind of like a sore, throbbing sensation in your body, and that's just from grief and being so low and depressed. But and being in that prostrate position, but face down in prayer, is just putting it all down.
And I think you probably agree with me on this, is that at that moment, it's the worst thing in the world. Now, when we're like 15 years removed from it, I'm so blessed by it. I'm so thankful for that moment of reality, of that moment of realness. You know, God, especially when you grow up in a church, grow up going to church, you get into this routine and this, you know, what's the right answer? Jesus. You know, kind of thing. You hear these words, faith and hope and love, and they become just part of your vocabulary, but you don't really explore them. And they're the foundation of who you are, but you never really kind of explore them.
Right.
And so I'm so thankful for those wake-up calls, those moments after the fact.
While you're going through it.
Man, I'll never fully understand what faith is. I'll never fully understand what agape love is, but I'm so thankful for those moments of awakening and reality of feeling a little closer to it, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that humbling experience. Much like the thorn in the flesh discussed earlier. It's one of those experiences that will humble you and hopefully will teach you a lesson enough to where you don't have to go that low ever again. But, you know, it can be to a point where it has to be relearned. But
and I know we're talking, you know, prayer, and we're talking very low moments. But then there's beautiful moments that, you know, you two both have already seen my thoughts on this with becoming a father. Was one of the most beautiful, you know, it was one of the most, it was like the opposite. It was it was a reality.
The peak of all peaks.
Yeah, because, you know, it's hard to talk about, but man, it's that setting.
Yeah.
When you feel that feeling of being a father, that smack in the face of agape love, you know, like that. You think you felt love.
Never heard it put that way.
You think you felt and understood at least a little bit of what love is, and then in that room, it hits you so hard, and it's so wonderful. And then, you know, for our personal experience, you know, Lacey Hallam played The Greatest Commands, and the nurses and doctors are singing these words aloud. I mean, it's
He sings something.
I mean, that's what heaven is. I mean, if I ever had a glimpse of heaven, it was in that room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, you find those moments. I know we're talking about like those deep, dark moments, but there's those beautiful moments, the positive ones that you hang on to just as tight and are so thankful for just as much.
So there's lessons in both.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why it sticks with you.
I'm not going to go there. I'm just trying not to go there.
Oh, you got them daddy tears.
He's a sucker.
That's so
He
sweet.
can't help it.
Oh, Lulu's not in here to see that. She'll see it later when she watches this later. Oh, my baby.
I'll never forget too, because I'm just trying to soak it all in and just take it in, and at the same time trying to update everybody. You were the first one to get updated. I felt bad. You weren't. You were back here babysitting. And
well, I mean, the thing with me is, if you hit me, at least I have a free hand. I can start texting everyone else real quick.
Well, and I had sent you the first look before I even texted everybody in the waiting room, because they were going to get the holder and all this. I gave you, and the picture I got back from you just was awesome. But I texted Dad. It was, I mean, I texted the group. The eagle has landed, and Dad didn't skip a beat. He's like, "Well, you got a bunch of people about to turn blue down here."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was perfect.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many moments, if we're just open and aware. Like, it goes back to the intentionality thing. If we're intentionally seeking God, and trying to really not. I fall into this trap too. If you're trying to fix everybody else, you've got all the answers.
Yeah.
It's up to me. I've got to be the fisher of man, and I've got to fix everybody else. But I think it's as I'm fixing myself, it's beyond any words I can say that's going to be effective to other people. It's in the fixing of myself, in the focusing on trying to be better and being that empty vessel for God. That's what's going to be effective to others, and them seeing that and that intentionality. And there's so many beautiful things happening to us every day that, if we're intentional, unless we're intentional, we're going to miss it and not see it. And it's right there, and it will give you peace. There's a sense of peace. I mean, we're talking about struggles and temptations and trials with prayer. At the end of the day, there's so much peace that comes with prayer.
Yeah.
Like Lacey said, that surpasses all understanding.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, if there's anything that would have summed up everything that you just said in the last hour, it was that. No, it was that. It was beautiful.
I hope you're grading our answers on a curve. I cried more than
Yeah.
she did. I hope that means.
Yeah, yeah. Is that what extra credit? You think that's
Who
extra
had,
credit?
who had that on their bingo card?
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, putting all that out on the table. That's and me and you've had deep conversations like this, but some there's people out here that's going to listen to this and see this that's probably never seen this side of you before, and it might be hey, I didn't know that man had a heart.
Hey, I get that a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But thank you, buddy. I appreciate you so much for all of that and all the research that you put in your sheets marked up so well.
We'll talk about being over
Color coded and everything.
Well,
You
that's
got
just-
extras and
They talk about being over prepared. I didn't even hit any of this stuff, so we'll save that for.
You're gonna have to do
Yeah.
like a 10
Yeah.
I might have to have more battery for that.
Most of that is in case I get into a situation I need to refer to it. I hate being unprepared, and
Oh
so
no, I understand.
luckily this is more of a just from the heart thing. So.
Right. Well, that's what I wanted, definitely. All right. Well, Ben. Well, let's finish it up with this last question. What advice would you give someone else to help them cultivate a more meaningful prayer life?
And it goes back to what we've been talking about there the whole time is the preparation, preparing your mind. Not just for prayer, but also for the answer, of realizing the reality of the answer, whether it's what you're asking for or not what you're asking for. Preparing yourself to handle it properly. It's too often it's like a child asking the parent for a cookie. They get the cookie, got what they wanted, and they're off and running.
Oh yeah.
Well, now I got the cookie. What am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
Or if I don't get the cookie, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And because it could be very detrimental either way if you don't prepare yourself properly. And so preparing yourself for that, and then intentionality, and then praying for those. This is where I'm at right now. Is I'm really working on this. As you have that consistent, constant, ongoing conversation with a friend like God, praying for those who persecute you. We talk about praying for enemies, and I think the word enemies can throw some people. It's throwing me off because I think I don't really have enemies.
Yeah.
But if I think of it in the sense, I've got people that aggravate me.
Yeah.
I have people that test my patience.
I'm sitting right here.
Praying for those people.
Rude.
Praying for those people, and that makes it a lot harder.
Yes.
Than praying for an enemy. Like praying for North Korea is a lot easier than praying for someone who aggravates you.
I've never heard that one before. That's new.
And so
He said he's not eloquent. I don't buy it for a minute.
when Jesus says that, and this is a reminder too of when Jesus says that, pray for those who persecute you. The word in Greek, the word that he uses for prayer is the verb version. Obviously, that's like duh, but at the same time, it's a verb. It's not.
It's an action word.
It's an action
Not an
word.
idle
It's
thing.
not a table.
Yeah.
It is something that you are doing, not something that needs to be done. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and then lastly, well, actually, I already hit that one. Like I just said, being a friend of Jesus, what a friend we have in Jesus. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear, all because we don't carry everything to God in prayer.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's just, I couldn't put it better myself.
Comes back to spiritual situational awareness. Basically, with those songs, all because we did not carry.
It's needless. It's needless pain.
Well, it's not. It's totally human to make things much more difficult than they really need to be.
Preach.
Yeah, big time. So
Like, don't-
that's his own lesson.
Not reading the email properly before you move to college.
But you don't do that anymore,
Oh,
right?
I
You
don't
read
do that
every
anymore.
email that you get, right?
You can find print.
Yeah, exactly. The disclaimers. Well, thank you so much, buddy, for putting all of that out there. And
Thanks for making me cry. I hope you're happy.
yeah, well,
Don't ever ask me or my
Mom wasn't in
nothing
here.
ever-
Yeah, Mom wasn't in here to watch me make you cry, so I don't get in trouble for that one. Shouldn't have recorded it.
Oh, you're recording this?
Yeah. Whoops. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in or listening in or watching in or whichever end you've been doing. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed it. I know we enjoyed our conversation. Hopefully you did as well. Tune in next time. See you.